This small Italian island was plunged into the spotlight after thousands of refugees from Tunisia arrived following the recent Jasmine Revolution. Among those who arrived in Lampedusa last February, these young men braved the hazardous journey to reach their dream destination, Europe.
We had only one option, come to Lampedusa and find work in Europe. We risked life and limb at sea because there's no work in Tunisia. Half the population is unemployed because Ben Ali's family plundered the state. They didn't leave a single penny.
We're delighted to be here in the hope of finding work. And if they don't allow us to stay, we'll go back to Tunisia and then leave again and return to Lampedusa. We won't stop.
In the wake of the Jasmine Revolution, more than 5,000 Tunisians boarded small vessels and headed for the island south of Sicily last February. Closer to Africa than Italy, Lampedusa has long been the first port of call for migrants heading for Europe. The sudden arrival of thousands of Tunisians prompted the authorities to reopen a reception centre for refugees closed a year ago. Most say they fled the violence, poverty and corruption which they claim is still going on. Off camera, some say they face threats because of their links to the old regime. Others claim they've been threatened by Libyan agents connected to the regime of Ben Ali.
There's violence in Tunisia and many problems with Gaddafi, many stories. I went to Tunisia 1 week ago. I flew to fetch my wife who was pregnant. I had to go.
Lajnaf lives and works legally in France, but he's been unable to obtain a visa for his wife, so he returned to Europe with her illegally. A 3-day crossing packed on a fishing boat with 250 others.
I have my French papers. I took a risk and saw death at sea.
We can go to study, we can go to shopping, we can do anything because we don't have a president. So the people, all of people do what they want. It's war, yes, Libyans and family of Trabelsi and police can kill people.
Zainab and her husband leave the centre within minutes of our conversation. They're off to another retention centre where they hope to obtain the relevant paperwork. Here in Lampedusa, humanitarian organisations explain to immigrants their rights as refugees in Europe.
An asylum seeker must register in the country they first arrive. If there's no request for political asylum, they'll be considered an illegal immigrant, and Italy has the right to repatriate, to expel them. Under the Dublin Convention, if they request asylum in France, they can be sent back to Italy.
It's a rule that Tarek, who works for the NGO Save the Children, fell foul of. He arrived illegally on the island in 2005 after fleeing Eritrea. He crossed the desert and spent time in a Libyan jail. After a brief stay in the Netherlands and France, he was forced back to Italy. Now living on the island, he does his best to help those suffering similar hardships.
People don't leave their families, their children, their brothers because they want to. I didn't leave because I liked it. I had no choice. When you've made that journey, taken such risks and seen people die before your own eyes, seen women raped in front of you and you get here, no one understands. You tell people about Libya, Tunisia, and they say it's going to be fine. You talk about your problems here and no one listens. They say you'll be okay. It makes you sad. You have to understand what has happened to these people. We have to get angry, to ask, where are their rights? Why don't they give them rights? Because humans have a right to live.
Rights the population of the island, which lives off fishing and tourism, are also claiming now. The islanders' hospitality is at best jaded.
Times are hard for the fishermen, hoteliers, restaurateurs. Nobody's working this year because nobody wants to come to Lampedusa to see all these illegal immigrants. Who wants to come and bathe here? There are 6,000 inhabitants here with children, and they are 5,000 young men. Of course we are scared. How can we leave our wives and children at home to go fishing? We don't want to leave them alone, with all those migrants all over the island.
A major concern for the island is the spectre of tens of thousands seeking sanctuary from Libya. The mayor of Lampedusa wants other European countries to help with the influx.
We cannot cope with an entire population leaving their territory only to find a better life. We can guarantee political asylum for those who flee war to escape death. But we don't want vagabonds in Lampedusa or in Italy, because we already have an abundance of vagabonds and thieves.
In Italia, perché di vagabondi e di mala gente ce ne abbiamo in abbondanza.
At Italy's request, Frontex, the surveillance agency which monitors the external borders of the EU, has launched a support operation involving a dozen member states. Specialists are already in place at immigration centres, and planes and boats will assist the Italian authorities. A citizens' committee set up on the island says it's not enough. If the island lacks the means to prevent massive refugee flows, Lampedusa faces extinction, they say, and some are calling for a state of emergency.
We want a collective European force to be ready. Ships from all over Europe, forces from all European countries to patrol the Sicily Channel, which is an open flank to the whole of Europe.
However, the refugees are not without allies. The spokesperson of the environmental group Legambiente says their passage in Lampedusa is unavoidable, and that the island, known as the gateway to Europe, should not become the symbol of Fortress Europe.
Europe needs this workforce. Why force them to become illegal migrants? Force them to risk their lives at sea? Why not regulate flows in a consistent way which can answer the real needs of our continent?
This is something shared by those looking for a better life in Europe. The continent still searching for a way in which to deal with the tens of thousands who arrive at its borders each year.
In Europe, there's a democracy, the right to speak. You have the right to work, unlike Tunisia. And there, if you protest, you have to deal with the police. It's handcuff time. Prison. Do not pass go.
Direct police يهزوك معناتها minute يهزوك direct.
When Tunisia gets a good president, a good police, once democracy is in place, then we'll go home. Why stay? We didn't come here to bother people.